Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this planetary system. I want to give greetings and thanks to this opportunity of sharing my PhD starting point research on governance of the polar regions. And I will introduce my academic journey through a brief tour from where I've been studying the last few years. First, as a political scientist, I started researching for my thesis on Antarctic geopolitics. But then I studied nation states and their traditional disputes over geographical spaces within its own national interests. In this process, I discovered not only the geopolitical value of the wide continent due to the number and diversity of factors globally interested in her, but also I started to understand her great natural, scientific, historical, and even cultural identitarian value. So at that time, by researching especially Argentina's, UK's, and Chile's Antarctica's policy, I started to observe the importance that their science and politics gave to issues related to climate change. Since then, I expanded my understanding of this phenomenon from the quadrant of environmental issues, where I had it inside my mind map, to add it into the geopolitical arena. I began to research on climate change as a multiplier of global risks, and then to become more conscious about the pathway that the current state of affairs on the world system is taking us into scenarios such as a positive feedback of the greenhouse effect, the hothouse Earth, and finally, a potential sixth mass extinction. The idea that I got on this presentation is, in this brief presentation, is to share with you the idea matter of what I want to research on my PhD on level studies, which I'm just starting. Well, I will start on the premise that humanity is immersed in a process of civilizational crisis and a potential collapse that I think can be synthesized by two interdependent processes that mutually feedback. On the side of the contemporary world system, this is evidenced on the existing network of systematic global risks, and on the side of Earth systems, this is evidenced on the global environmental change today measured with the planetary boundaries framework. Well, our global situation is on fire. I think that's not new to any of us. And besides, this is not cool at all. I find it very exciting to see that we are now entering a new epoch. Moreover, we are on a change of epoch, and not merely an epoch of changes. That is why I decided to locate my research from the anthropocene perspective, which I understand invites us as humanity, if we can consider as a case of study, to be collectively responsible for the effect of our lifestyle on nature, that is, to admit the effect of our world system on the Earth systems. And from this point of common sense, accept the invitation of this new epoch to rethink everything, from our cosmogony, our belief about humanity, our traditions and religions, our way of living, our education and cultures, our way of managing resources and exchanging them, economy, and obviously enough, the way in which we arrive to decisions in benefit of the collective, but without losing the individual aspects of being a human being. So, observing that the contemporary world system, as we have seen also in COP26, is not managing to achieve through its international climate governance a truly positive change of its own self-destructive modern rationality, besides of having collected almost 50 years from the 70s in the last century of scientific work that warns us on the need to do something about the way we live and relate to the Earth systems, we are still walking, or I even think running, into the same pathway. into breaking tipping points of the planetary boundaries and getting ourselves and the whole planetary system into a hothouse Earth scenario. That will also put us on the podium of being the first species that generates a mass extinction in geohistory. Now, as we speak and discuss these matters, we face that the bridge of time to this real change on the collective pathway is on a frank countdown to the 2050s, if not 2030s, depending on the model of future scenarios we want to sit on. Acknowledging all this is that becomes self-evident to me the need of an effective and just form of governance for the Earth system to auspiciously face the existential risk posed by this own-created, anthropogenically created situation. All this justifies the area and concepts I want to work, think on, and design on this research I will be embarking myself on in the next years. But still, why the polar regions? Faced with these challenges and acknowledging the need of this global governance for the Earth system, I start from the premise that the poles on the side of the world system mirror the geopolitical map and are often cited as successful examples of international governance for peacefully managing traditional interstate tensions. On the side of the planetary system, their natural conditions and characteristics represent an international science hub where Earth sciences consider them as one of the best possible laboratories on the planet to measure and prospect the global environmental change. In those two reasons is why I think that the regional and environmental governance systems of the Arctic and the Antarctic poles analyzed in a comparative way under the discipline of the global studies and within the theoretical framework I found on the global governance of the Earth System Forum will help me to understand if their existing institutionalized mechanism can enlighten empirical or normative elements to improve the existing models of global governance. And that's the main focus I will be working on. This thesis will be initially built on the contribution of a series of significant authors regarding the state of the global situation as a guide to understand the need for this Earth governance system. And empirical research will then be guided by the theoretical parameters defined by this concept, seeking to understand whether or not its essential dimensions and main attributes are present in the governance systems of the poles. Then, material on the governance system of the Arctic and Antarctica will be collected through the actors and organizations directly linked to at least one of their systems. This will include different types of materials such as information and reports from those organizations, both in written and audiovisual formats. Governments, documents, and reports from the states selected for the study, scientific papers published regarding the issue, and news from the international press. The main criteria for the selection of the actors, states, and organizations to be analyzed is that they should have an active participation within the polar governance systems, high levels of scientific academic activity, and manifest geopolitical interest in both poles. Then the source of the materials to be used for the Earth system governance are the site authors and the homonym global forum I mentioned before. And for the polar governance systems, the material will be taken from both system secretariats and regular meetings, state polar national institutes or agencies, international scientific specialized organizations such as the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research, intergovernmental and interparliamentary organizations, as Convention on the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources, and non-governmental organizations working actively in one of the both poles as for example, the Association of Polar Early Career Scientists or the Worldwide Fund for Nature. So, all this being said, sorry, I would like to know, what do you think? and if you can give me some elements to work on this. Thank you very much.